somebody came to the school with flyers saying that there was a battle of bands and that you could win prize money or recording time and things like that, or musical instruments. And we weren't a band before that flyer came to the school, and we were a band right after it became a flyer. And we played at the Elma Combo. That was my first gig in 1994, like first club gig. And yeah, we won. It was cool. So we got recording time, and we kept on doing a couple of those battle bands like Supernova and things like that way back in the mid 90s. And yeah, we just wanted to hang out and play tunes. And I was writing songs, and they sucked, but they weren't horrible.
They sucked, but they could have been worse, I guess.
Yeah, they weren't horrible.
Yeah, how amazing is it that your first show was at the legendary Elma Combo, which you've gone back to play since then?
Yeah, it's quite astonishing. I remember seeing Keith Richards' autograph in the green room, and that was the first thing that I did. I signed my name in that green room. Since then, the green room's gone, obviously, and the new building's been installed, and it's a gorgeous building. I've played there a few times now. Yeah. Mostly just tape stuff. I haven't actually had a show there. It's been taped stuff.
The pandemic, right? It'll get you. You can't do well, maybe now you can do real shows, but you couldn't for a while. We'll touch on the effects of the pandemic on a touring musician's life in a little bit. But so you guys released a couple EPs between 96 and 2000. What opportunities started presenting themselves once you had recorded music that you could get out as kind of your business card for new opportunities?
Yeah, back then we did a 4-song EP, and it was called Mold. A few of the tracks are now on Spotify on the deluxe edition of the Staggered Crossing's first record. And it was good. We had like this keg party in my parents' backyard, and I set up the garage to sell, a glass of beer with a tape. And it was just on a little tape. And I think people still might have it. I don't, there's maybe 200. I don't think I have one. Jeremy probably does. And maybe I do somewhere, but I'd have to really hunt for it. But the song that really took off was a song called Crazy People. And that was an infectious sort of pop rock song that really caught the ear of a gentleman by the name of Frank Davies. And Frank Davies was the CEO and president of a company called The Music Publisher, which was TMP. It was owned by Atlantis and Alliance Films. And he ended up coming to see us perform at an open stage, just really me. And I played some songs that would end up being on the next full-length record that Warner put out. And he just loved it so much that he offered me a publishing deal. I said that the others had to come with me, and he offered everybody in the band this publishing deal, and we gave him a year window to be able to find us a recording contract. Never really thought too much about it, because we were really prepared to just kick it with this tape and see where we would get. Tried to get a couple shows, and all of a sudden everything just fell into place magically for a little while.
Those 200 copies of the tape, you could probably find them on eBay for a pretty penny, maybe. Who knows?
I don't think I'm that popular. But...
Or on Amazon or something. But was it this publishing deal, the guy that had a year to shop for your record deal, is that how you ended up signing to Warner Music in 99?
Mm-hmm. Frank Davis was really the person who introduced me and the guys in Staggered Crossing to everybody that he could in the industry. We ended up meeting Ralph James, who became our agent, Warner Music Canada, who became our label. And then we had, lawyers, because we had to deal with the deals and things like that. And Frank was our publisher. Frank's company merged with a couple of other indie music companies, and they became the Song Corporation. And the Song Corporation was around for a little while, and then they went under, and we kept forging ahead. I mean, we were let go from Warner after the first record. I don't think it was the best timing for us to come out with a record. The music industry was in a very topsy-turvy sort of state. As soon as we released our record, Napster was in full swing. But there were some great moments. We had some great tours. Toured with the Headstones and Big Sugar. Played with Nickelback. Played with Joe Cocker before he passed, and Guess Who, and all sorts of people. Mostly Canadians, but we did also play with Midnight Oil, which was a huge thrill. Apparently, we end up in a mention in one of their autobiographies, which is kind of cool. And what was it? Semisonic was another band we played with. The old 97s were a band we played with, and that's remained a friend. So yeah, it was a crazy time, and we were young. Literally, I think the first tape came out when I was 16, 17. And then by the time the Warner record came out in 2000, we were 19, 20, but a couple of members that filled out the band later, Bruce and Daryl, were a bit older. They're about 10 years older than some of the high school friends.
So that major label debut comes out in 2000, 2001. It had 3 hit singles. So it had Further Again, it had A Million Works of Arts, and it had Old Man. What thoughts and memories and emotions come to you when you think back to that album that kicked off everything? I mean, that's the beginning of this amazing journey that you're on. Is there anything that just stands out, feeling or memory or any of that? You mentioned a few tours and that kind of stuff.
All of it's pretty incredible. I look back at it now and just see that I was one of the first, people of color and, to go out and kick it that way, here in Canada at least. And some people have actually come up to me and mentioned that, and I forget. And when I get told that just by doing it opened up a few doors and a space for other people like myself, and I feel pretty good about that. Also a hard slog, a hard journey. I lost, we all lost Bruce along the way. That wasn't easy. And we all, had our own sort of issues, and continue to fight those issues, I suppose. But yeah, going up really fast and coming down really fast is not an easy thing for anybody.
Yeah, the music industry has like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right?
It's pretty harsh, and I've experienced both.
So I have a quote here from someone who actually mentioned what you just mentioned about being a pioneer in Canada, man of color in the rock world, that you didn't see that often at that time. So here's somebody that has something to say about that. So this is from an incredible drummer. This is Sekou Lumumba. So he's the drummer for Bedouin Soundclash, Big Wreck, Thornley, Edwin and the Pressure, Cardinal Official, and Serena Ryder. So he's my next guest on the podcast. And this is what he has to say about one Julian Taylor. He says, "When I moved to Toronto many years ago, Julian was one of the only Black artists who was completely embedded in the Canadian rock landscape and was making waves at it to boot. As a Black kid who cut his teeth on playing along to distorted guitars and had a taste for stuff outside the usual rap, R&B, and jazz, it was rare at the time to see another brother with tastes outside those boxes. Add to that, he's a phenomenal frontman, songwriter, and singer. I've always thought he was criminally underrated, and as anyone who's been to a show of his can attest."
Wow.
So,
Thanks, Sekou.
there
Please
you
tell
go.
him I said hello. I love Sekou.
I will tell him. So we're talking about the major label album. So the first single, Further Again, that's where I became a big fan. That reached number 7 on the Canadian rock charts. Ended the year as the 6th most played song on radio in Canada. And I want to know, because you were young when all this was happening, what was it like to hear your song on the radio for the first time?
First time I was driving my mom's car, and I knew it was coming on because it was on Mix It or Nix It. And I was prepared. Warner had told us that it was coming on, and I just pulled over because it blared out of the speakers on Mix 99.9, and certainly would never do that now when they play. But yeah, I pulled over and just lapped it up. It was pretty extraordinary to have my song on the radio. And every time I hear my song on the radio, it just generates that same feeling.
And Mix It or Nix It, is that like people vote in if it should
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
getting played? Did it get mixed a little or did it get nixed? What happened?
It made it up a little bit, and then it fizzled out. I think we lost a collective soul or something like that.
Oh, those nixes, they'll get you. But so it's one thing hearing your song on the radio for the first time, but then, I mean, that song was one of the most played songs in Canada that year. So what was it like at the peak of that song where it's like a legit hit that you're hearing pretty frequently?
I To be honest, I don't know. I didn't really. For me, it was a highlight to play the Mike Bullard show with Sean Cochin, and for him to say he was a fan, that was pretty wild. You know, for Midnight Oil to say they were fans was pretty wild, and things like that. But I didn't even really know it was the sixth most played song of the year. So
It's in retrospect, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it was neat to be on Much Music, and funny to have that recognition for a little while. And just looking back on it, it was a pleasure. It was really lovely to have that experience with such close friends.
Do you remember coming up with that catchy riff in Further Again, or hearing it for the first time if it's a different guitarist, maybe in the band that came up with it?
No, it was my riff that I came up with. I was walking my dog, and it just kept on buzzing through my head. So I just stopped, hung out on the front lawn for a bit, and just finally came in and put it down on like a little Tascam tape cap thing, like recorder, and that's how the riff was born. I didn't really know how the rest of the song was going to go, but that first intro riff was certainly something that a lot of the time I write stuff and I have no idea how I did. Like I listen, if I go back and listen to things, sometimes I'm actually flabbergasted that I that came out of me.
Sometimes does it feel like you get a song or a riff or a lyric or an idea that comes to you like it's a gift from source or infinite intelligence or God or however you want to call it, where it's just like you're the conduit that it comes through?
Oh, all the time. I mean, you have to tap into it though. You have to exercise that muscle and that heart and soul that goes into everything that you do. But a lot of the time, it's like I have no idea. Like I said, I have no idea how it's coming. It's just I get excited about it. It's an amazing feeling. It's one of my favorite things to do because of that excitement, because of that rush. It's like a drug writing music, you know. And when you finally get to that place where you're like, oh wow, that's exactly what I wanted, it's really satisfying, and that's why I've kept at it.
You mentioned you were walking your dog when that riff came to you. Did Fluffy get a songwriting credit for being a part of that moment of
Oh,
its
Oscar?
creation?
No, Oscar didn't get a credit, but there's a song called "Next of Kin" on that same record, which the song is about Oscar.
Okay, so he still got his.
Yeah.
It's still, yeah. Ah, Oscar. Any tips for beginner guitarists? So if we have listeners that are just picking up a guitar, any just general guitar tips that would help them maybe?
I assume it's a lot different from when I started out, because what I used to do was just go to the music store and buy, you know, people's songbooks. I still have all the songbooks that I purchased from back then, and I can go either play them on the piano or play them with guitar. And that's how I taught myself how to play. I would get chord books and things like that. But I guess now you could just jump on YouTube and get instruction that way, which is pretty interesting. So my tip is, I would certainly try to do it on YouTube. Like now I go, if I need to learn a song, I'll do it on YouTube, but I would certainly try to do it as much as you can yourself at first, because I think that if you do that, you do develop your own sort of stylistic, sound. I think that my rhythm guitar playing is, very different from anybody else's because I started from scratch. So,
When I was young, it was guitar tabs that were the thing.
oh yeah, yeah.
You used to go get guitar tabs, and now you can find any song on YouTube where there's literally like a teacher that's just sitting there showing you.
Yeah, it's a little different from when we were coming up. It was all tabs and chords and books. And it's actually different on so many levels. I'm like trying to get my my daughter to pick up a novel and read it is like so much harder than having her read something on her iPad. I'm like, this is crazy. But
Yeah, the with technology, the attention span, it used to be, I don't know, 30 seconds was the average attention span of a person, and now I think it's like 4 seconds. Like 4 seconds is the longest people can actually pay attention. That's the average
that's the average,
attention span. Yeah, it's dropped from, it was like 30 or 20 seconds, and it's 4 seconds. Like after 4 seconds, people can't stay focused.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's scary. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good.
Oh, it's definitely not good. No.
Yeah, it's definitely not good.
So
Wow.
yeah. So to wrap up with the song further again, I was wondering if that is the most fun Staggered Crossing song to play live back when you were playing with Staggered Crossing. I mean, with the fan recognition of that song, so they're probably singing along and cheering with the fast tempo, the driving drums, that awesome guitar riff with the power chords in the chorus. Was that a blast to play? Like when you look down at the set list and you see that song coming up, were you like, yes? Or am I overthinking this way too
Yeah,
much?
I think, yeah, the one that was the most fun to play was Old Man Sitting by the Fire. Yeah, that one was like as soon as the drum hit and the guitars flew out, that was the one that got the most energy out of me for sure. But Further Again was good. I don't usually play it. Actually, I don't play a lot of the Staggered Crossing material because I have to relearn it. But yeah, that one for sure was in there. But like before the second record came out, Old Man Sitting by the Fire was definitely the big one. It used to end every show pretty much.
Okay. And the second single, A Million Works of Art, that has amazing harmonies. Does hearing and singing harmonies come easy to you?
Sometimes, depends on the song. Those harmonies are done by Daryl O'Day, and he's extremely talented and gifted when it comes to harmonies. He can hear them probably better than I can. A lot of the harmony on the Staggered, and I think Daryl and my voice really blend well together. He's got a bit of a reedy kind of voice, like a clarinet or an oboe, whereas mine's a little bit more, I don't know, maybe more like a horn. It's louder. So we had a good time coming up with harmonies there. And Jeremy's a great harmony guy as well. Jeremy played drums.
I guess to dive deeper into that question is, if let's say you were sitting down with another musician and they were singing like the main line in a song, do you just naturally hear harmonies? And if so, is it easy to just hit those harmonies, or does it take practice? Like I know some people where it's just they hear harmonies, they sing them perfectly, and then other people it's like they have to figure out what the harmony is. It takes a long time to find the right note. Just curious.
Yeah, no, I can, if I'm sitting down with somebody, I'll be able to find the harmony for sure. I may forget it, but I can find it. Yeah.
You might find it, but you might lose it along the way.